morning. I'm Kaylee Miller, and this is KNN News. Robert D. Putnam's book, Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of American Community, is getting attention all across America. Putnam's main claim in his book is that we are, quote, bowling alone. Social capital allows people similar or diverse to connect in various local activities. This produces an effective community and society among the people. America's social capital is declining. Is this true? Let's find out. I'm joined by Noah Judd, who is interviewing citizens of America, asking if they believe America's social capital is truly declining.
Thanks, Kaylee. I was on Zoom today, interviewing citizens about what they thought about social capital in America. Here are some of those interviews now.
Do you believe that American citizens are becoming more and more separated from one another?
I've given that a lot of thought, Noah, and I do. I think that every 4 years, the election brings about a separation. But this year, there are so many other factors that are going into the separation of us.
Louise Judd also had this to say on the matter.
Of course, not only in our country, but in the world, we have really divided ourselves from a lot of our companions in the world. Yes, to answer your question, yes, I think there has been a lot of division and just, well, I'll say the last 4 years.
You mentioned politics and recent movements in history and the COVID-19 virus breakout. Would you also blame this separation on developments in modern technology?
Modern technology, what do you mean by that?
Like the invention of cell phones and the whole concept that they divide us more than they connect us.
Yes, indeed. As I have found from the dinner table, Noah, with cell phones entering the environment. And the other thing that I find to be rather humorous is you will be talking with someone and all of a sudden they slip their hand down to the side and start looking down, and you see a little thing in their ear, and all of a sudden that person is in another world.
Louise Judd is also an activist. Here's one of her stories from a march she has been to for women's rights.
In 2016, we had the Women's March with fighting for justice, equity, and compassion.
Next, I spoke with Katie Fiore from Western North Carolina. Katie does not believe that social capital is enough to bring together the divided America.
You previously stated about how you don't believe that social capital and people interacting with each other through like different activities will be enough to connect our country. Do you want to expand on that statement?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I think we need to talk about it relative to time. So let's say 10 years ago when Obama was still president, I do think it would be enough because people weren't so vehemently opposed to supporting him as a president as they are now with our current president. So I do think that after the 2016 election, I've previously mentioned how this was a big shift, but I do think that this has caused people to just be separated completely. And I just don't see how people refusing to be friends with people who don't share political opinions as them can be connected through certain activities. And it's more become a game of pointing fingers at each side saying, oh, the Democrats did this. No, the Republicans did this. And neither side really wants to take accountability for the whole polarization situation going on. So I don't think that doing social activities is going to fix that or connect it. I do think that we honestly, this is going to sound a little nuclear, but I do think we kind of need to change our party system as it is to include more parties instead of just having us versus them. It needs to be us and them versus them and them, it needs to be more than a two-party system. And I just think that hoping to connect people through social activities just is kind of a pipe dream and won't really go anywhere helpful.
Well, thank you for your time.
Next, I spoke with Graham Hunter from Boston, Massachusetts, who had this to say about the positive benefits of social capital.
we have that connection, we have that friendship. So if we have a friendship or, a relationship as a base, then I feel like, well, we will be able to be more united.
Lastly, I spoke with Mandy Velsek, a resident of Chicago, Illinois, who had this to say about the role social capital plays in her life.
So the people that I know, we still meet face to face. We still talk, all the time. And even in my workplace, we prefer to have face to face meetings because communication is easier, especially in healthcare where I work, when you do so face to face, because you have to read facial expressions as well as body language to know how you're doing.
I also hosted interviews on Zoom as well. First, I talked to Ocean Runyon. Have you seen people in your community being separated or connected more?
I've seen both because some of my family is kind of redneck, and they believe in some beliefs that me and my dad and some other parts of my family disagree with. So on like Facebook, for instance, sometimes they'll get into online arguments, and it just makes meeting up with that part of the family impossible altogether or very, very hard.
I asked the next interviewees about the role social capital plays in their neighborhoods. Let's see what Allison Stevens and Holden Wharton had to say.
All of my friends' houses, they don't know their neighbors, and it's foreign to me because I've always known my neighbors.
Every Friday, our grandparents host a thing on their porch, little, get together, and the neighborhood comes and some of their friends come and they sit out on the porch and they all social distance 6 feet apart and they just talk about what's going on, how everyone's doing, and, just they bring their own snacks and drinks, and it's pretty cool.
Mr. Scott Eastman had a different attitude on the matter.
Well, right now I don't notice it very much because it's the way the virus has closed everybody down. I think it's, even though they're not isolated, I think they're isolating themselves just because of the situation that they're in.
As you can see, Robert D. Putnam's book, Bowling Alone, has highlighted various opinions, followed with current issues both nationally and globally. Depending on the interviewees' different backgrounds, where they come from, and where they live, it has the ability to skew the attitude towards Putnam's claim.
You see, Mr. Putnam's claim has told us that we are, quote, bowling alone, end quote, meaning our social capital in America is decreasing. Based on the responses we got, we agree with Putnam's claim. We believe that, although Americans are finding ways to stay connected with those around them in their community, due to polarizing political parties and advancements in modern technology, that us as citizens of America are becoming more and more divided than we ever have been in the past. Thank you.
Just make a better society, the best that we can, and this is definitely not the best that we can.